My wife, 32 female, and I, 30 male, got married in September 2018 after being together for 3 years. Right before our honeymoon, we bought a house together in VA, and after we got back, pooled our remaining money and time to completely redo her old starter home in MD, and sold that in early 2019. We both work full-time jobs in Virginia. I make pretty good money. She makes even better money. My wife, let's call her Katie, decided to pursue an MBA and started last fall. She had an educational trust that her parents started for her, and therefore didn't ask me for any financial assistance. However, because I saw how time-consuming the MBA was on top of her already large professional workload, I took it upon myself to take care of everything related to our still relatively new home, including dealing with contractors, managing all our bills, maintaining the house, taking care of our dog, purchasing, assembling furniture, yard work, cooking, cleaning, laundry, and hosting, entertaining her family that insisted on coming over at least 2 weekends every month. Lately, Katie had been unhappy with our relationship, complaining that I wasn't spending enough quality time with her and not making her feel wanted. I tried to argue several times that between her work and studies, and my work and home responsibilities, that there simply wasn't very much time to spend together in general. We would frequently not even get to eat dinner until 9 or 10 at night, and I would either need to bring her a meal to her home office, or we would quickly eat together, and she would return to schoolwork to study or percolate in group project session. She would argue back that the things I was doing around the house were simply my responsibility as a husband, and that while she appreciated it, it didn't count towards me trying to maintain or build our relationship. We'd also been arguing a lot about other things, and combined with the lack of free time, would be intimate maybe once a month. But after one particularly emotional and drunken conversation, about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I vowed that despite what I already thought was prioritizing her needs, that I would go even further. I began to take off work. I, unlike her, still had to go in during COVID, or go in late, leave early, stopped seeing friends, skipped workouts, and would even wait until she was occupied with something else to even take a shower. Also, I could spend as much available time as possible with her between her obligations. As a result, things seemed to be slightly improving between us. And now we arrive at last Wednesday. As per usual, I was making dinner for us. We have a tablet in the kitchen that I primarily use for recipes. As I was finishing up, the tablet began pinging nonstop, and I checked out what was happening. As it turns out, the tablet is linked to her Google credentials, and I first saw an ongoing Hangouts conversation between Katie and a friend, discussing what to do about someone's wife who had come to our house that day while I was at work. Scrolling through the conversation history, I found more about Katie's lack of feelings for me, and the longing and dreaming to instead be with some guy, who we'll call Luke. Physically shaking at this point, I decided to venture away from Hangouts and open her Gmail, where I found several emails, going as far back as March, between her and Luke, calling each other babe, sweetheart, and my love. Unsure about what to do next, I first took screenshots of everything I could find, then stepped outside to call the only person with law experience that I knew, an executive at my company who I'd become friends with. He advised that I immediately confront her, but first call someone to come over to the house to act as a witness, in case things became physical, or if she might later try to claim they did. So I had a friend over in about 20 minutes. I confronted Katie, and she confessed to the relationship and admitted that they had been intimate several times over the past 4 months, both at hotels and in our home. Now completely distraught, I tried to maintain my composure and asked her to leave. She stayed at a hotel for 2 nights, then despite my protest, came home on Friday, stating this was her house too. She insisted on talking when she returned, and not having a witness this time, I decided to record the entire conversation on my phone. She tried to reiterate that she had been unhappy, but despite that, had been reaching out to her friends and mother about suggestions and resources she could use to help our relationship, even though I had suggested counseling in the past. But she refused. She tried to tell me that she made a mistake, that she had already broken it off with Luke a week ago, that I was the only person she wanted to spend her life with, and the only reason she hadn't told me about it was because her friends had advised her not to. She also said that if we truly love each other, that divorce was a mistake, and that we should be able to get through anything. I replied that love is worthless without trust, and then said that if she insists on staying here, to please stay in the guest room. Obviously free usage of her home office and the guest bathroom, but to please stay out of our bathroom unless telling me first. So now I'm here, sitting in my house alone with just my dog. Her and her aunt, uncle, cousins are currently at our neighbor's house for a BBQ. They don't know about what she did. I can't bear to go over there because I don't want to talk to or even look at Katie, much less pretend in front of a bunch of people that nothing happened. 90% of me wants to get a divorce, but despite her feelings, I was very happy with the life we were building. We had even been talking about being pregnant by this time next year. But no matter what I decide to do, I know I don't want to make that decision without getting more information about what I can do, what might end up happening if we proceed, and I definitely want to talk to a few VA lawyers to protect myself. We only have one joint account with less than $20K in it, and the only asset we share is our house. So that's it. I'm sorry for writing so much. If you've made it this far, thank you for reading, and I would really appreciate any and all insight, suggestions, or advice. I just feel completely destroyed, empty, and alone. Please help me. Edit. I am absolutely stunned and overwhelmed by the level of support you all have shown me. I truly can't believe that all of would take the time to offer your advice, kindness, and wisdom to an absolute stranger. I am doing my best to read every one of your replies, and from the bottom of my somewhat shattered heart, thank you. This has been an unbelievable light in the darkest time of my life. My wife cheated on me and deceived the shit out of me. I guess I'll go ahead and just start with the story of my marriage experience that lasted a year 2020 to 2021. I apologize in advance if anything is lacking coherency, or if anything seems a bit ambiguous. 2020 was a hard year for many, and I just somehow managed to fall into yet an extra pitfall of 2020, my very quick marriage to the person I trusted the most. January 1st, 2020, I got a text from my old acquaintance from freshman year in college, whom I haven't seen in years. Hey, I miss you. And if I could change one thing about 2020, it would be my entertainment of her texts and leading her into my life that I worked so hard to build. I kind of had a crush on her in college, but I never really saw us getting into anything serious. She has been in a lot of unsuccessful relationships and seems to be the person you'd think really doesn't want anything serious to do with anybody. YOLO. I know, big mistake. I have been working full-time for 2 years after university, and I was raised on premises such as structure, hard work for a reward, emotions, seriousness, commitment, etc. I do, however, have my flaws too, since no one's perfect. Anyways, back to the story. Over the next couple months, we would text non-stop, and she would come over for about every other weekend, taking a 4-hour drive just to be with me. We were so happy, and she was really pushing me into proposing and getting married as soon as possible. When that didn't yield anything in the beginning, she brought the idea of a promise ring. And I think her persistence and me not experiencing such deep emotions ever before and falling in love led us to May 1st, 2020, when I proposed, and we went the following day to court to get married. We were so happy, and she swore to change her bad habits, which I thought I got down pretty good. Come later to find out there's a whole other level to these. An example of the bad habits was smoking, which she convinced me at the time that she quit. We get on a rental lease around the same time and move into a house in the same city I lived in. We were so happy and excited that we're out here building the life that we want, and we seemed to agree on the big things like kids and families and stuff like that. After only about a month of living together, before May ends, I was laying on the bed working from home one day when I noticed her phone right next to me light up with Snapchat and Twitter notifications. Now, I had previously learned her passcode as she told it to me once, and it's so easy that I never forgot. I entered it and peeked at the notifications, and I was shocked at what I saw. My whole body started shaking as we're still cuddled up and she's asleep. And here I am finding out that what she told me she does for a living was a complete lie in the crap. I saw the posts on Twitter and Snapchat and OnlyFans and MFC and figured it all out pretty quick. My wife that I just married has been camming online for the past 3 years or so. I wasn't sure how to react as my body froze in bed. My shaking body eventually triggered her to wake up, and as soon as she did, she noticed how pale my face was and lack of eye contact, and asked what's wrong. I said nothing. Again, what's wrong, babe? Are you okay? I asked, what do you do for a living? As I slowly turned her phone towards her with a very detailed post of hers advertising her body on Twitter, and her reply was shocking and absolutely ridiculous. How do you think I made all that money very fast and staying up all night? Yep, she's very quick to lay her problems and lying on others very rapidly. I know some people are okay with camming and whatever. I just want to mention that it was very clear that this is something that will break our relationship forever. The following moments were moments of her crying on bed and trying to hug and kiss me and tell me she's sorry and won't ever do it again, and she would quit and do anything for me and to make me happy, and that it's a soul-destroying job and so on. Yup, my dumbass didn't see anything short of forgiving her, and we carried on with working on building our marriage. And like they say, when trust broken, everything is pretty much broken. I would start the habit of checking her phone every now and then, and I caught her secretly camming and sexting clients and FWBs like her psychiatrist, for example, and off we go. Dumbass again. Forgiving again. I don't recall how many times I forgave her for lying and not sticking to such an important promise to me in such a sensitive moment, but it must have been 2-3 times after May. Eventually we started seeing a marriage counselor for a few months, and unsurprisingly it was mostly assignments for her to work on her issues of how she needs to feel desired, loved by men, etc. And let me just say that we had the greatest sex life and greatest emotional journey together during the good moments, of course. Our marriage seemed to be showing good signs of repair over the next few times going to the therapist, but eventually all hell broke loose. I lost it. December 1st, she starts sexting her psychiatrist again and exchanging nudes and vacation plans for prescriptions and cash. I did forget to mention that I have a very long history of all these conversations in the form of text screenshots. I remember that day I couldn't sleep but pretended to. We were in the same bed, and when the sun came out I couldn't hold in the feelings of hurt any longer. I went to my computer while she was still asleep and printed the divorce forms, filled them out rather fairly considering what she's done, and woke her up with a simple "I need you to sign this." She was so confused, so I had to elaborate and tell her these are divorce papers. You don't deserve someone like me. I had enough lies. I can't trust you again even if I wanted to save us both the head and heart aches and sign this. She starts crying and goes into a breakdown. I got no signature that day, unfortunately. Her mom drove down worried after what happened, and I didn't exactly tell her what's been going on but kept it as a simple "our trust is broken, and I can't trust her anymore. This is for the better." After a week of back and forth talk between us, she finally agreed to sign it, wanting us to stay friends. Remember my dumb ass? Yes, I said yes, let's stay friends, and open to her anther smaller part of my heart as a friend who cares about her still and provides some of her needs since her camming income was no longer present. One of our main agreements as friends who will live together for the remainder of the lease was to not have anybody over, guys in her case, and women in my case. We had our separate bedrooms and tried to focus on our lives. It only took 2 weeks. December 16th, and I wake up randomly at 1 a.m. and I see a text from her saying she has a friend over. I text her my disappointed since it's clearly a guy in there, and I felt so disrespected. No answer. I get my phone and go into the backyard and get a good video of what's going in the bedroom. Had I waited 10 more seconds, they would have been all in each other deep. I knocked on the glass creepily as I'm filming her absolute lies and deceptiveness, and the guy starts to leave. This was probably the first time I yell at her throughout the entire year of marriage and call her garbage and disgusting and so on. We come to a resolution after the fighting that she would take over the lease till it ends in May 2021 and would be responsible for the entire rent amount. I started apartment searching and ended up a move-in of just this week, January 9, 2021. Keep in mind 2 things. The first is that in order to take my name off the lease I had to pay the remaining half of the rent for the next months, and we agreed she would pay me those back on a payment plan since she doesn't really have a steady job and she went back to camming now. That agreement was handed yesterday to her and is yet to be signed. The second thing is I have all my property off the house that we lived in except for my washer and dryer that I agreed to leave with her as a little help till the end of January 2021. Trying to decide if I should stick to that agreement now since she almost make a fuss out of everything and won't let go of anything easy. Anyways, that same night, I finalize my move out. 10 minutes later, and with a 20-minute notice, she brings another guy over to move some furniture around, a guy she met on Bumble whom she keeps stressing how successful and rich he is. I find myself spending the night in a motel nearby my new place since the electricity is out. I don't want to reach out to her since I feel like just cutting her off completely from my life 100%. I started watching cheating wives videos on YouTube, and the Reddit storytelling ones brought me here to share my story with you about my infidel ex-wife. My ex-wife deceived me and manipulated me. I was the dumb nice guy who worked overtime trying to find stability on our shaky grounds, and yet I don't get support from her. Instead, all I get is hurt and disrespect even on good terms. I'm glad we had no wedding, and I feel sorry any single soul she decides to manipulate in the future. Yes, she's very good at it, and I'm a dumbass. But overall I'm glad it only took me less than a year to find out who she really is and what she really wants to change about herself. No kids, all financial support except for some furniture she got was from my income and hard work, and I can let go of this person forever now. Even if she comes back on her knees with another "Hey, I miss you," learned a lot. If you made this far, you're all awesome and great listeners to a not so great writer. I hope I get better at it and provide more updates with time. But for me, all I wanted was to vent and air out some steam, because for her it's so easy to find a guy and sleep with. But for me, I'm still in shock and questioning who the FCK did I marry, lol. Thank you, and I hope I didn't lose any of you.